Thanks everybody for hanging around. Let's get the next game going. Oh shit. I meant to get that out on the lunch break. Maybe nobody heard it? TY's Company. I feel like we've seen this one before. Thank you, bot. Charcuterie or a Sing of Circe. A Sing of Circe. I feel like bot's trying to pen its own series of fantasy novels, starting with the Sing of Circe. Bot is not doing well today. Yeah, you gave the bot COVID? Oh, bot, you better not give that shit to me. I don't have time for that. Godbidring Meskin. Good improvement machine. That's probably going to be too loud. Let's just put it about half. Let's see, that's where the Stanley Parable was. Feel free to let me know if it needs to go up or down in terms of audio. I have no idea. I didn't have any idea what to expect with the last one. Once again, going in without knowing anything about this game, which is always exciting. So.
Hi there. Thank you very much for playing The Beginner's Guide. My name is Davey Reedon. I wrote The Stanley Parable, and while that game tells a pretty absurd story, today I'm going to tell you about a series of events that happened between 2008 and 2011. We're going to look at the games made by a friend of mine named Coda. Now, these games mean a lot to me. I met Coda in early 2009 at a time when I was really struggling with some personal stuff, and his work pointed me in a very powerful direction. I found it to be a good reference point for the kinds of creative works that I wanted to make. So just to start you off, this is, I think, the first game he ever made. It's a level for Counter-Strike. You can walk around here, by the way. And mostly it's just Coda learning the basics of building a 3D environment. But what I like is that even though he starts from the simple aesthetic of a desert town, he then scatters these colorful abstract blobs and impossible floating crates around the level. And of course, it destroys the illusion that this actually is a desert town, and instead this level becomes a kind of calling card from its creator. It's like a reminder that this video game was constructed by a real person. And it kind of makes you wonder, what was going through his head as he was building this? This is what I like about all of Coda's games. I mean, not that they're all fascinating as games, but that they are all going to give us access to their creator. I want us to see past the games themselves. I want to get to know who this human being really is. And that's
yes, I am
exactly
controlling
what
this
we're
right
going
now.
to do here. So, it's 2008, Coda starts making these games, and he never releases any of them. He doesn't put them onto the internet, he just makes them and then immediately abandons them, and they sit on his computer forever. And I think he really understood this image of himself as a recluse. At one point, he jokingly renamed his computer's recycling bin to Important Games Folder. So, you know, this was just how he worked. He tended to crank them out one after the other without even really pausing to try to understand what he had just made, until suddenly one day, he just stopped. In 2011, that was it. He made his last game, and then he hasn't made another one since. And that's why I've taken this opportunity to gather all of his work together, is because I find his games powerful and interesting, and I'd like this collection to reach him, to maybe encourage him to start creating again. And if the people like you who play this also happen to find his work
Hey,
interesting,
Sandwicher, thanks so
then
much
I'm
for the
sure
raid.
it'll just
Welcome,
send
Raiders.
that much stronger of a message of encouragement to Coda. So thanks for joining me on this.
Thank you so
If you
much.
have a particular interpretation that I haven't mentioned here, or if you just need to get in touch,
What were you streaming? How'd it
you can
go?
email me at
Anyone not following Sandwicher, one of my favorite channels. Great streamer. Oh, doing Skyrim. More mods, huh? We driving that Mazda around today? We're playing the Beginner's Guide for the first time. We just finished, I never played the Stanley Parable, so I just finished that. And decided to jump right into the developer's next game.
DAVEYWREDEN gmail.com. Okay, that's about it for introduction. Let's take a look at Coda's first proper
No
game.
mods are just mud crabs.
As each game is loading, I'll show you the date that it was completed. This first one was made in November 2008.
Warning. Whisper machine active. Shift to structure imminent.
This game is called Escape from Whisper, and it's one of the more generic games you'll see from Coda.
Security call breached. Hostile alien life forms inbound.
It kinda looks like this game was abandoned mid-development. For instance, you have this gun, which you'd think would indicate that there are supposed to be monsters or enemies somewhere, but then clearly there are no enemies anywhere. You can't even reload the gun when you run out of bullets.
Yeah, I just realized that.
But ultimately we don't really know. Maybe Coda thought that actually it was complete the way that it is. And I think that we should talk about his games for what they are, rather than for what they're not.
Enemy force neutralized. Begin shooting activation.
I like that philosophy in general, right? Let's all spend a little bit more time talking about what things are as opposed to what they're not.
I love how you can see the bottom of the universe from this room.
Oh.
Apparently, this space station has a labyrinth on it. Sure, I don't know. There's really no reason for it that I've ever been able to discern, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip you on past it. Okay, this is the part that's interesting. The game has this narrative about the Whisper machine and how it has to be turned off, and then you get to the engine room.
Hey, you there, in the engine room. You could save us all.
They
That
skipped you
beam
past a
is
maze?
powering the Whisper
Just when I was getting
machine.
invested.
You could disrupt it by introducing a great enough heat signature. If your body could stop the beam. It's so much to ask, but for
Sam
all
Richard,
of
have you
our
played the
lives,
Stanley Parable?
Would you do it? Could you give yourself?
I take it you haven't played this?
Let me pause here for a second. What you just experienced, stepping into the beam and then dying, is probably what Coda had initially intended when he was developing this level. But when he first compiles and plays it, something goes wrong. There's a bug somewhere. And this is what happens instead.
Is the narrator not putting their own oeuvre onto these games? Apparently not. Yeah, I knew nothing about this jumping in. I just saw it was the follow-up to the Stanley Parable. And Stanley Parable, yes, this, no. Yeah, I'd never played that before today. I went in pretty, just completely, actually blind to both of these games here today. So, looks like this is a compilation of work from another creator from 2008 to 2011, I think he said. He's just kind of shepherding me through parts of these games that this creator made. I've just started, so far we've just seen a Counter-Strike level, and then
Start
this.
floating. And this is an important moment for him. Because yes, this is technically a glitch, but Coda identifies something human about it. Like how small it makes you feel in the face of this larger chaotic system. Or this floating could be the afterlife, a peaceful place, juxtaposed against all of the hysteria that you've just had to traverse. I don't even know. I have no idea what he was thinking, but what's clear is that after making this, something lodges itself in his brain. He wants to do more of these really weird and experimental designs. So he stops work on this and moves on to a stream of tiny little games that go in all sorts of directions. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first game he made after leaving this one behind.
The past was behind her.
Yep.
Oh, I
in
can
this
only move
game,
backwards.
You can only walk backwards.
The future
So
could
it's a
not be
short
seen.
and relatively minimalist experiment combining motion and narrative. It is less advanced than the previous game, but actually it seems to be more focused, more complete. Code is trying to give it a unique voice rather than simply basing it on a pre-existing trope.
Keep changing? Why does the future keep changing? But only being able to look at, enjoy things in retrospect, not actively. Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like, wow, in the span of just 3 creations, we've got a Counter-Strike level, just playing with the tools, supplied, to like a kind of, generic, but like building something of your own, the sci-fi environment, to now third outing. Just like taking some metaphorical idea and building a game around like a concept like that and just exploring that. So cool. When she stops and looks, it becomes clearer. At first, I was kind of like, maybe not quite taken aback, but surprised. Like, oh, it's kind of sweet, right? It's like a love letter to this other creator. Sort of like, I would love to see you create again. Here's what I got out of your work. And like every time I've shared, like my writing or something with someone else, and like sometimes the things like another reader will find in your own work that you didn't even know was there. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't even realize I had like seeded any sort of like metaphor here, or like I didn't realize there was an aspect of this character that you appreciated, and now I can like seize upon that and explore that and pull that out. I didn't even realize I had done that, so like having someone else narrate, like comment and create this experience, this walk through this person's work, this body of work, is super cool. How will she find the strength? And like what he was telling me thus far about how this creator didn't really put any of this stuff out to be like available to anybody.
It's a short little thought, it says what it wants to say, and then it ends.
Maybe didn't even
need
appreciate
anything more than that. Which to me is why it works.
as much as
because it
was
gets
it Davey
out quick.
Reedon?
Okay, next one.
I think it was the name. Maybe not as much as even Reedon did. I want to make sure I have that name right. Is it Davey Reedon? Yes. And also, what was it Coda. Okay. I was blanking on the name of who put these games together that we're currently going through. So it's the CRPG Odyssey. This is something I've been excited about for a while. I'm just gonna start at the very beginning of RPGs. So I read a book on the Plato. I don't know if you're familiar with Plato, but like a university early platform, like university system that was made for just like to be a learning platform on like the university mainframes in the 70s. And as you would expect, being a university full of students, immediately started getting filled up with games. So the very first CRPG, at least the very first extant CRPG, Dungeon from 1975, I think it is. I'm gonna go through a bunch of Plato stuff and just start moving forward. Play through like Akalabeth and the Ultima games, and just see how far we go. I don't know. Probably not do like the entire history of role-playing games chronologically, but go on an Odyssey. Yeah, you played any of that before? Have you explored Plato? The floor looks like dead skin cells under a 3D microscope. Oh, I didn't get that, and now I do.
And that's it. Okay, the meaning of this game won't be clear just yet. Please be patient with me for a few more games, and I promise you'll see what makes it interesting. Oftentimes, Coda would put bizarre titles like
Nonsense
this one
nearly
at the start of his games.
every direction. Sounds like my life.
I wish I'd known him at the time that he was making these early games. He would really only talk to me about his work as he was making it. Once he stopped work on a game, like, that was it. It was dead to him. And I don't agree with that at all, but what are you gonna do? Once you've been slowed to an absolute crawl, the door at the top of the stairs opens. So why, if Coda's not showing these games to anyone, why bother opening the door at all? Well, to show you, I'm modifying the game here so that when you press enter, it'll bring you back up to full speed so you can enter the door for yourself.
I've always had an interest, but I only know the Ultima series in any significant way because of a YouTuber who does retrospectives. I attempted to play the one on the NES. Oh, which one is that? I've actually only played Akalabeth. I have played through that in its entirety, but it's very short. And when I played it, I meant originally to just continue on and start playing through all the Ultima games, and just did not. So, finally, I'm going to do it. Stand on an X staring at a bear for 3 hours. A game of only motivational quotes, played one after the other, while the player cannot move.
A room that's warm and nice and filled with little ideas for games.
Yeah. I remember...
Coda would often tell me that he didn't mind if people thought of him as cold or distant. He said that he knew that he was actually a vibrant and compassionate person, but that it takes time to really see that. It can be a very slow climb to get there.
A game where you collect items, except the game automatically quits when you collect them all. A stranger appears. Oh no, I wasn't. Oh, I wanted to read all those. I should have just... I kind of assumed they might be pushing me through. When I was living in Shanghai, I went to a gallery there. There was a performance artist, and his whole... Well, he had a bunch of different performance art pieces, like videos playing on different monitors through the gallery. But I remember one of them was just him speaking into a camera about a bunch of ideas for performance art videos that he would like to do. And that was the entire video. Just him describing these other potential videos to you. The only one I remember exactly was, I'm in a kitchen and I take a giant 5 kilogram or 10 kilogram, whatever it is, bag of rice and accidentally spill it. And the rest of the video is just me picking it up 1 grain of rice at a time and putting it back in the bag. That's 4, you think? Okay. Ultima 4 on the NES. Interesting. I want to say, did I briefly try and play? Yeah, I think Wizardry I was trying to play via the NES version at some point, which I also didn't stick with.
This is new for Coda. It's an actual puzzle. Go ahead and see if you can solve it. Don't forget that solution, because we're going to see this puzzle again soon. We're going to see it a lot.
I often wonder how many grains of rice I have when I eat rice. Only one way to find out. And it's not through using any math other than simple counting, I would say, yeah? It's the only way I can possibly conceive of doing it, is counting every single grain of rice as I consume it, yeah? No formula. No looking at the average of grains of rice in a given amount, right? I think I'm just gonna have to count every single one to really know for sure. Rice is great when you want to eat
So that seems
10,000 or something.
You walk down a corridor, you solve a puzzle, you get to the end. Simple enough.
I feel like
Now I'm going to modify the game again.
Dimitri Martin
so that
had a
when you
joke
press
along those
enter,
lines. I'm trying to
it'll
remember what it
remove
was.
all of the walls from this room.
Sorry, I was talking over you. Whoop. I was thinking about rice.
How about that? There was more to it than we had any way of knowing. I actually find it funny that this game comes after the Stairs game, since they essentially convey the opposite idea. So, in the Stairs game, a dull exterior concealed a rich interior. And then, in this level, a dull interior hides this fantastic outer world. Either way, I think that the point is the same, is that most of the time you don't get to know what you're missing, or even that you're missing anything. That's not your role as a player. So if your role here is not to understand, then what is it?
I drive myself insane.
Aha. So, this, combined with the entering game from earlier, tells us that Coda believes his games are connected somehow. It could even be that the stairs game and the puzzle game are literally connected in between this and the entering game. There's a bigger picture that all of his games are meant to play a role in, some larger meaning that we won't be able to grasp until we've seen all of them. And once we have, we can step back and start to understand what exactly that bigger picture is.
You're now entering Dead Skin Land. The Great and Lovely Descent.
Let's talk about video game development for a second. Every video game runs on what's called an engine, which determines what the game can and cannot do. So in other words, the engine is a set of tools for game development. To make all of these games, Coda is using an engine called Source. Like all engines, Source has certain things that it does well, and it has certain things that it does poorly. One of the things that it does very well is boxy linear corridors. That's why so many of Coda's games are set in these large, flat, empty rooms, is just because he's working with what the engine does well.
I wonder if that's how they got to know each
The
other,
tools
because
available to the creator
Stanley Parable
shape
was in
what kinds
Source.
of creative work they're going to end up making. You might consider paying attention to the architecture in Coda's games to notice how they seem to stem from an engine that's very good at producing linear, boxy corridors.
when I was a kid, getting my braces tightened at the orthodontist, the lady working on me was wearing shorts and itched her leg with her nails. I watched the skin flakes fall everywhere. I wanted to die. Oh, God. Definitely a moment when you want to have your mouth pried open. Take a deep breath. Whoa. Oh, my God. I guess that's the faster way down. I really love the music in this area. I mean, I just love this whole area. This is very inspiring, you know, to just see someone working in within a span of like a year. We've gone from just like a very rudimentary Counter-Strike map to these sort of abstract, kind of surreal, big sprawling environments with a lot of great atmosphere. Oh my God, I don't think I shared the most recent kid story from work. Oh, what do we got?
This prison, funny enough, in Coda's original design, the doors stayed shut for a full hour before letting you go. If you don't mind, I think we're gonna skip that.
That's maybe a little self-indulgent.
You know, whether a game ought to actually be playable, whether it means anything if no one can get through it. And I would always defend that, you know, all this work goes into the game, why not make it playable and accessible? And so we just got into heated arguments over it, and there was one time that after one of these conversations, he went home, and a day or two later, he sent me a zip file entitled Playable Games that was full of hundreds of individual games, each of which was just an empty box that you walked around in and nothing else. Believe me, I played every single one of those just to find out if there was like a gag hidden somewhere. There wasn't.
There was this girl I had last year who was testing ADHD meds. By the end of the year, she was sent to the office for a dose of them each day. She still does it now. Her little brother saw the person that runs the front office walking across campus. He pointed at him and said, "Hey, that's the guy who gives my sister Ritalin." It's one of those darndest things.
It's the puzzle again.
Yeah.
With the exact same solution as the last time.
And yet, I wasn't ready for it.
There's still no clear indication of what makes this puzzle so special that Coda is going to return to it over and over. But I promise I'll share with you my interpretation very shortly.
You there? Did you come up from up above?
Here,
What
Coda
was up
begins
there?
using a kind of dialogue system that he fashioned out of the engine's chat capabilities. Use the 1, 2, 3 buttons on your keyboard to respond.
Yes, there was a world stamped with whiteness. Yes, there was an enormous prison I spent hours in. Yes, there were these floating colored blocks. Let's go with 3. That's the world above. You've been there. And this is important. Did you have to get through a puzzle with 2 doors and switches? I did. That was literally the last thing I did before coming here. No, I don't remember having to go through any puzzle. I'd prefer not to tell you. After all, we've only just met. No, let's be excited. Yeah. Let's share. Again, perfect. Now, please, tell us how you solved it. Tell us the solution. Tell us how to get to the other side. I don't remember how I solved it. I'm trying to remember, but I can't. I didn't solve it. Someone else let me in. Trust me, you don't want to go over there. You must think harder, please. Try hard to remember. It is so important that we get out of here. Must escape this prison. Can you think harder? There must be something more. Please, tell us how to reach the end. Hello, how did you get here? Was there a puzzle you had to pass through? Yes, do you want to know how to solve it? No, we actually find the black space between the doors to be far more interesting. Have you seen it yet? Actually, now that you mention it, I remember feeling strange as I passed through it. Don't think too hard about it. You'll see it again soon.
And so we make one last descent down to the final floor of the level. It's a lamppost. Okay, I can't tell you quite why, but for some reason, Coda fixates on this lamppost. It's going to appear at the end of every single one of his games from here on out. I'll tell you what I think. I think that up to this point, he's been making really strange and abstract games with no clear purpose, and maybe you can only float around in that headspace for so long. Because now he wants something to hold on to. He wants a reference point. He wants the work to be leading to something. He wants a destination, which is what this lamppost is. It's a destination. We're going to see it in the work as well. His games are just going to become a lot more cohesive, a lot more fully developed, with more of a clear idea behind them. And as we go, that idea will get clearer and clearer and clearer.
They're scary. Panopticon. Yeah, would you want to hang out in this courtyard? This game is connected to the internet. As you walk around, you can leave notes. All notes you see are left by other players. Let me guess. Finger butthole? Nice room. Not.
So first off, I'm sure you can deduce this, but this game
How
is
do you beat
not
this game?
connected to the internet. All of the notes that you're gonna see have been written by Coda.
No point to this.
This was actually the first game of his that I ever played. This was shortly after I met him at a weekend game jam in Sacramento, where I grew up. I saw him working on this very level, and it was just so different from anything that anyone else was doing. So right away I was like, I have to be friends with this person. In retrospect, I think I was probably
Whoa.
a bit too pushy,
Holy
trying to
shit.
get his attention. I was over enthusiastic.
Can you guys hear
But
me?
he was very gracious about it and very patient with me. And I cooled off eventually.
I like that's what the movie Fargo did, right? Where it starts off like this is based on a true story, and that is not true. It is part of the movie. It's part of the fiction of the movie. To change your perception, make you believe it was based on true events. Like to make you believe that these are
Oh, feel free
From
to
other
skip
players?
over any of these notes if they're not doing anything
Reasonable.
for you. Nothing extra is going to happen if you read all of them. Either way,
everyone read this.
to me they convey a sense of loneliness.
Hey.
I see this person who's filled with thoughts
This place makes me
and
sad.
feelings and beliefs and has no way to express them except as scattered and unheard voices in a game that wasn't meant to be played.
The note said finger butthole. Oh no. I mean, it's just a message you see a lot in the FromSoft games.
But it's ironic, isn't it? That in
Where you
playing
can
this
encounter
game
messages
and
written
seeing
by
how
other
alone
players.
Coda often felt, that we
In
get to
the
know
Souls
him better
games.
and actually kind of connect with him. And I have to be honest with you, this idea is really seductive to me. That I could just play someone's game and see the voices in their head and get to know them better and have to do less of the messy in-person socializing. I could just get to know you through your work. I think this is why I always liked Coda's games so much, is because it felt like they let me have that connection. I felt as though he was inviting me personally into his world. And then I feel less lonely too.
Do not be afraid. Do care. I just saw a flying penguin. Let me tell you, it was the most majestic thing I've ever seen. I don't feel like living because nothing will ever be as majestic as that. I never want to see again if nothing will ever be that beautiful again. I'm crying now and plan on ripping my eyes out. I must go now to do that. How is there wood and grass and concrete here? What the fuck? Balls. I want to tell you a secret. Once upon a time, I did. I'm king of the world. Define fun. Define fun. I laugh. How well can I do it? What the shit is this cavern? Boring. I can assure you, guaranteed that there is an acorn somewhere here in this place, and the sailors are looking for it. I'm really stuck on that idea. How does everyone define fun? Hey guys, just looking for someone to talk with. Does there need to be like a sort of spontaneity to it? The feeling of joy, for sure. Refuse to believe. Joyful circumstances with some kind of surprise, spontaneity. I need to go to the freaking bathroom. Although, like, things totally scripted and familiar can also be fun. Recognize me, please. There's nothing here. Go back. Don't listen to that guy. Although, am I thinking more comfort over fun? Although, can comfort also be fun? Yes, but... F is for friends who do stuff together. This is actually the correct answer. U is for you and me. N is for anywhere, anytime at all down here in the deep blue sea. What is this from? F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me. Is this SpongeBob? What do I know this from? Is that SpongeBob? A free t-shirt. Someday I will meet the person who made this. Need other side. Door, why you so? Door, how open? You don't have the right, you don't have the right. Oh, you don't have the right. Open sesame. Makes game, includes door. Cannot open door. Thanks. Is SpongeBob? Okay. I help people because of the internal good feeling I get. Wow, there are a lot of messages. New room. I think I gotta read them all, though. Do you hear the chimes? They keep you going, don't they? I would like very much to be desired. Welcome. Congratulations. I don't really know where to go with this. Congratulations. 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 You can go in here, I think. Oh, don't bother. A game where you leave notes and suddenly everyone's a poet. This is where I get off. I failed to write anything here. I am compelled. Stop. Turn back. Proceeding further will only result in misery. Take my hand. Let's jump together. Can I? I can't. Cabbage shapes our nation. That one, I don't know. That one is. That's my favorite. Cabbage shapes our nation. I think I'll be thinking about that sentence for a long time. Cabbage shapes our nation. What is that painting? It does not matter if you ever get over there. Hey, don't talk about me that way. Very good game. I think I'm this is not going anywhere. Next time I will do better. I need someone to talk to. This is a note? Don't listen to the other notes. No, I'm gonna keep listening to that one. Cabbage shapes our nation. I'll never stop. I'm not safe. Stop faking it. Art. I think it's about how things look messy from up close and perfect from far away. Really? Actually, I think being up close made more sense of this. From far away, it kind of just seemed like a mess. Now I kind of see it for what it is. But then I get too close and it's back to messy. From up here, it just looks like dots. Cabbage shapes our nation. Oh, well, see, now we saw that one before. We will all die someday. Who are all of you? Whoever made this has issues. Painting, what does it mean? Today I learned you cannot fall off. Ethical. I saw a person walking down there. Now it won't come back. Devil Tower Star. It's about how this game is pretentious and you all suck. Devil Tower Star. He was himself the most horrible creature he could imagine. Well, I'm here now. Yeah, we're all here now. There must be a reason for it, though. His terrible secret. He kept it well. I beat the game. More room?
At the end of this level, we're going to see the puzzle again. And here, I'll tell you what I think the puzzle means. Each of these games represents an idea that was on Coda's mind at the time that he was making it. And the puzzle is a way of closing the door on a previous chapter of his life before moving on to the next one.
Scared of writing something. Don't want to feel judged. Escape, escape, need an escape. You cut it up and spread it between the worlds. Almost there. I've seen everything. I've traveled the world. I've never told anyone. I wish there were notes in the real world. Become one with the spiraling nonsense. Downward. Keep
In
digging.
each of his games, after exploring a theme that, he might find difficult, Coda can then place this puzzle that he knows has a reliable solution, he understands exactly how it works, and so it gives him a simple mechanism for moving on.
Help, help. Shit, how do you solve it? Developer answers, please?
And because there's this dark area between the doors, a space between spaces, before you move on, you get to pause. Just for a moment, a few seconds to reflect on and let go of the events that led you here. To step back and connect the pieces together. To grasp at that elusive bigger picture.
What I'm starting to wonder is Coda real? Or is everything within this game also part of the fiction? Speak, 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 speak.
Okay, this one is tough. It's gonna kind of just spin its own wheels for a few minutes. Hang with it.
I think, though, it's got to be, right? Should I just, like, accept it? That it's, like, in earnestness and, like, truthful, and it is, like, a walkthrough of somebody else's body of work? It would be, like, a little too self-important, a little too pretentious if you were to just, like, create all these and then comment upon them, right? That might be pushing it. It's one thing if you're doing it with someone else's body of work, but... I want to check, but I don't want to know until the game is done. Because it'll probably change how I
See, like,
perceive
this
it.
is it. The whole
Knowing
game.
one way or the other.
And there's nothing that's particularly interesting about it. You just walk to the end of a hallway. Except, for some reason, Coda gets really fixated on this prison that has all of this modern furniture. And I don't know why, but he decides he needs to revisit this prison. He's gonna start over, use the same assets, turn it into something else. Okay, cool. Here's version 2.
Or alternatively, it's the developer's own body of work, and he's created a fictional stand-in developer to offload it all onto and stand in place. But like, this is all Davey Wreden's own stuff. But again, that would be the same problem if that were the case, right? That would make it even worse. Yeah. If you're talking about like I don't know. If you're like thinking deeply about different possible like interpretations of your own work, even if it were like for the sake of doing some sort of artistic experiment. Yeah. What furniture ought to go in the center of the room? How about a TV with surround sound or refrigerator? Put a giant hole in the ground. I don't want a TV in this space. Let's put a refrigerator with an extra D. Okay, now what about along the wall of the room? Huge picture of a horse? Or like a washing machine? 10 stoves lined up along the wall. 10 stoves. 10 stoves. I want to see that horse, but I want to see those 10 stoves. Alright, I gotta see the horse. Okay. Skylight. How should we light it up? Skylight, full ceiling window. Let's open this baby up. I'm thinking 10 by 12 recessed electric 6-inch soft LED ceiling lights with fluorescent trim. We'll put live Tesla coils in each corner. Yeah. I gotta have that skylight. And a table. You need a table. Who are you? Where exactly are you doing this from? I'm pretty sure none of my choices are making any difference. Tables were invented in 1935.
There's a bit more to this one, but still, it's not really communicating anything. It's kind of just weird for weirdness' sake. So, okay, he throws it out and starts over. This time he comes at the prison idea from a different direction.
Hello, please walk forward. This guide will enable you to escape any... Oops. Sure. Follow the instructions carefully. Take care that you remember each step. First, click on this table. Good. Go over to the photo frame and click to turn it slightly. Now turn the floor lamp in this room off, then turn it back on. Now go to the left side sofa. Move it over a little. Finally touch the shelves. That's it. In a real prison, the escape will now open. Return to the start to be taken back to your prison.
And of course, now the table is gone and you can't begin the chain of events to escape. Here's a version where there are no bars, but you can't actually get to the well. And then a version where the inside of the prison is the outside and the outside is the inside. Let me just blink you real quick through a few more of these. I mean, he really unloaded on this prison idea. There's nearly a dozen of them. Personally, I think it's awful to watch this, to see a person basically unraveling through their work. And for what? Like, at what point do you just go, maybe there are game ideas other than this prison that I could be working on? But Coda doesn't have that voice telling you to stop, that particular mechanism of defense against yourself. Without it, you just spiral. And so he keeps going and going and going and going and going, and then he hits on something. And he likes it. And that's it. He's done. He stops making prisons. This is the very last version of the prison game that he created, and the reason I think it works is that the prison is not actually in it.
We've got ads kicking off in like a minute and a half, I think. Hello? Who is this? Hey, it's me. I'm you, from after you escaped the prison. You're me? So you were trapped in this prison too? Yeah, I was in the furniture maze. I was in the escape tutorial.
It's a conversation.
I was in the
And
reverse
so
prison.
this is what Coda wants, is to be able to talk to someone, to share what's on his mind, and to get some good advice from someone who knows. But the irony is that even in this scenario, you're still talking to yourself. You know, all of these games so far are Coda talking to himself.
Actually, I'm already forgetting what being in the prison was like. It's strange, but in a way I kind of miss being in the prison. It feels like being completely still and wildly in motion at the same time. Really? How long has it been since you got out? Years. Like I've been standing right here working up the nerve to call you. Only a few minutes, but somehow it's already fuzzy. Kind of like it never happened. But this is the worst, most desperate thing I've ever been through. How could you possibly forget it? You don't ever forget it. You just stop identifying with it. Wait, if you're me, then did you get a call from another version of you when you were trapped? No, I think I'm the first person to call back. Then can you tell me how to get out? Maybe I can come find you. What do I have to do? To get out, all you have to do is be sincere. What? That will free me? How does that work? Alright, since ads are rolling, I'm gonna just stand up for a minute. Back in like a minute. And then we'll continue this. So, yeah, see y'all. Be right back. All right, thanks everybody for hanging around. It's exactly what you need to figure out in order to escape.
I can see why he considers this a fitting conclusion to the prison games. After all of the obsession and frustration, just to be told by someone you can trust that things are going to be okay. Wouldn't that be nice? So what would it look like if Coda wanted to make a game about talking to someone other than himself? To me, this environment is meant to represent Coda's puzzle, with the two doors on either side and a dark transitional space between.
My goodness, I'm glad as all heck that you showed up. Thought I might be having to clean this entire house all by myself. And right miserable that would have been. Everyone knows the lonesome hands make a lousy homes.
You'll notice that the quality of the art is a step up from previous games, including this new and improved chat system, which he started using from this point on. From here on out, he begins putting much more effort into the visual polish of his work, and this particular game took 2 months to create as a result.
So don't you worry now. We'll be through this mess in no time. I promise you'll wish there was more. Why don't I finish up here? In the meantime, could you please clear the table? Much nicer. That's the table I want to see. Now would you please run to the bedroom and make the bed? While you're in there, why don't you straighten out the rug a bit? All the little details matter. Do you enjoy being a house cleaner? Well, I don't enjoy it so much as I need it. While I'm working, I feel a kind of calm that rests in the pit of my ribcage. My soul just can't be soothed any other way, it seems. Which I guess is about all that matters. Oh, that and a tidy couch. Would you straighten the pillows on the sofa out there? Oh dear, looks like someone spilled a drink over by the couch. Maybe mop that up as long as you're over there? Oh. I feel compelled to share an incredibly cheesy personal insight. You okay with that? Make it especially cheesy. No, it was stupid, sorry. Never mind. Hey, these dishes need to be washed. Why don't you come do that? Last I checked, the tub needed a cleaning. How about you scrub it down as best as you can? No need to be perfect, we're all just human. Are there still books scattered on the floor of the bedroom? If so, would you put them back on the shelf? Perfect. Now then, how about you come and clear these dishes off the table?
After the intense set of prison games, this house cleaning level almost feels like cleansing. It's the moment after a particularly difficult or traumatic experience where you just need to let it sit and digest inside of you, and eventually cohere into something meaningful.
Do these chores ever end? Darling, let me tell you something. Whatever work you do, you have absolutely got to own it. Otherwise, it owns you. So why don't we be with the task at hand and leave the future chores to future you? Present you wants to smooth out the rug in the bedroom, believe it or not.
I know that Coda
Trust me
really
on this
liked
one.
this game. Of all of his work, actually, this was the only one that he called me up to ask me to come over and look at it. This was during a period of a few months where he was like grossly happy all the time, just walked around with a constant smile on his face.
Looks like the tub has gotten rather dirty. Would you mind tidying it up a bit? Earlier, when I said I had a really cheesy thought, I was going to say that it occurs to me that one's house is a lot like one's soul. You take care of it, and it takes care of you. Heh. Don't know why I felt so weird about saying that. You're right, that is pretty cheesy. But there's a bit of truth in it, no? Anyway, so, housekeeping. Let's keep doing this. Books. Would you please clean up the books? Oh goodness, those pillows over on the couch are a real mess.
I'm glad he made this. I'm glad he found some peace.
Question. Do you enjoy this?
Of course, it can't last. The music stops, your companion is gone, it's time to leave. The door at the top of the hill is now open as well. Again, you can't stay in the dark space for too long. You just can't. You have to keep moving. It's how you stay alive.
I did like just this section, though, you know? The tasks that never end, right? The desire to have just a perfectly neat, immaculate living space. Keep tidying the pillows. Get the books back on the shelf. Oh, tub needs to be cleaned again. Oh, gotta wash the dishes. And again,
Which is
and
the
again.
whole point of the puzzle
Back to the
games, right?
lamppost.
That sooner or later you have to pick up and move. I really thought that was the point of it.
Sooner or later, you just have to give yourself over to living in a shithole. Yeah, stop cleaning, it's fine. Items
This
you love
one
at members
gets a
only
bit goofy.
prices. Why did you come here today? Was it to improve your life? Was it to get a better job? Was it to make your relationships more meaningful? No. You came here to become perfect. This workshop is going to teach you how to be perfect. I want your friends, the people in your life, to look at you and think, wow, this person is a better human being than I am. Right on. No, right now. Right now, who do you think about that way in your own life? Who do you know who is so well developed as a person that they make you feel disgusted with yourself, compared to whom you feel useless, selfish, ungrateful? I intend to make you into that person. Perfection is within your grasp. And the question is not how we do it, but how we do it effortlessly. This is easy. It is so easy. It is so easy.
About halfway through the game,
Being
the
perfect is
perspective
effortless. That's an amazing cut.
And you play as the teacher. And suddenly, you discover that your teacher is just as bigoted and afraid as you are. Oh, and also you can move around the classroom now.
Oh, I can. On the way to work, I told an elderly person to start contributing to society. Kids should not follow their dreams. I don't know, sure. Well, let me tell you right now, if it isn't effortless, then it's not the right answer. I still love you, it's just that you make me feel cold on the inside. Being alone must be awful. Let's go with number 1. Thank goodness all of you perceive me as being wise and intelligent. Drinking is not hurting my life. If you are torturing yourself trying to find the right solutions for your life, you're not doing it right. Do you understand that you won't be happy until you love me? This is for you. Seek out only one thing. What is the easiest, simplest path forward? Ew, I'm developing a cyst. Gross. Haha, just kidding. Anyone want to do some ecstasy after this? There is no truth. There is no path. What if I'm not a good teacher? Do what is easiest. Do what is simplest. Feel what is true. Holy shit, you guys, something is coming out of the back of the room. Look out! Nothing. No one. It's coming for you. It's going to destroy you. Everyone run! Run!
I fell pretty hard for this one. I feel like it's one of the most relatable experiences that you can have. To assume that some other person is perfect and totally fulfilled in every way, and completely miss all of the little flaws that make them painfully human. I think about this game a lot these days.
That is good. Especially when it comes to someone, like, performing a certain role, and you only see them... I mean, it comes up, like, with teachers, right?
This one took a lot longer than all the others for Coda to make. It was 4 months.
Teacher's a
between this
teacher,
and
not
the
a
last
human.
one.
With a
That's
life outside
twice
of that
as
role.
long as it took him to make any other game before
just like
this.
general
And it's
authority
not like
figures.
it's particularly complex. So I remember I found that a little strange at the time.
Oh. startled me. I guess it's just the experience of walking across the stage, although we are in the Source engine, right? We're just thinking about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, I think. Is that what I'm thinking of? Alright, the performance is beginning. Places, please. In this scene, you will be playing as me. We are at a gathering of professionals. First, you'll start out leaning against this wall. Good. Stay right there. The woman across the room in this chair is a professional photographer of animals. It's your dream to photograph animals professionally. This is your one chance to learn something from her, to gain something, to succeed. Go on, say something to her. Hello. Sorry, I have to leave. Where is the bathroom? What are you doing? You're deflecting. You're not saying what's actually on your mind. Stop dancing around it and have a conversation with this person. Do it again. I'm super, super scared right now. I like you. Here are all of my hopes and dreams. No, no, no. That's not what I said to her at all. You're completely missing the tone of the conversation. I was reserved, but I knew what I wanted. I was confident. For some reason, it was just that one moment, but I was confident. Maybe it's that you need a better feel of the setting. There were a lot of people around us. I'll give you some props to work with. These cones that bounce when you touch them will represent the people nearby. Now talk to her again. You must have worked really hard to get where you are. I'll bet you've learned to lean into the pain. What are some sacrifices you've had to make? You're messing it all up again. You'll freak her out if the conversation gets that personal that quickly. Do you not realize how important this was for me? I'll never get another opportunity like this again. Everything was riding on this. I want to try something. Try stepping back from the stage. Back in the prison. Okay, yes, now this is working.
The game
This is
ends
what it
with
was
this
like.
eerie premonition of what's going to happen next in Coda's life. The solution to social anxiety, to fears of having to perform and having to chase success, the answer for Coda is to withdraw, to hide himself away. Which is what leads to scenarios like the stairs that slowed you down several games ago, where it just becomes harder and harder to access Coda's inner landscape because he keeps retreating. He just keeps backing away from possible connections to anyone other than himself. And to be honest, I didn't consider it very healthy when I first played this. You know, it looked to me like he was trying to justify the idea of just disconnecting yourself from the world. And that wasn't what I wanted for him or for his games. Because I feel like a lot of his games are inviting me to connect with this person, to bring him closer. But
The
what
more
can you do?
He keeps sharing these
After
really
this,
deep insights
Coda
into
went
Coda's
off and
character.
took another 5 months to make a new game.
The more I'm really starting to think Coda does not exist. It's part of the fiction of the game world. Mobius Trip. To play this game properly, you must keep your eyes closed. Click to begin the game. Okay. I gotta give it at least like a little peek, right? Okay, wait. Help, I'm blind. What's going on?
You should probably open your eyes if you haven't already. It's pretty much impossible to solve otherwise. And there is a solution, by the way.
Please don't let this be forever. There's a giant door. And? What were you saying? We're gonna crash, aren't we? Be quiet and help me find the shields. Uh-oh. Help, I can't see anything. The only way to stop it is to speak something that is honest. I can't keep making these. Yes, that's it. That's the truth. I don't feel it anymore. I'm out of ideas. It's
Like I
draining
said,
me.
I was getting concerned. First off, he's never been this explicit in his work about exactly what he's thinking. So where's that coming from? But then even weirder, his work has potentially stopped being an outlet for him. Not like he's having trouble iterating on ideas, but he literally just can't think of new ideas anymore. And in person, he was being a lot more distant than usual. Like, you know how sometimes a person will just deflect anything that you say in order to keep themselves disconnected all the time? It was that kind of thing. Here was the point in my relationship with Coda where I really started to wonder if he needed my help in some way.
I'm alone. We're gonna be okay.
His games are going to get more desperate from here on out. After this game, it's almost 6 months before he finishes something new.
Hello? Where did this island come from? How do we get out of here? Is anyone there? Is that a person? How lovely. It's been a long time since I talked to anyone. What's wrong? You look lost. I'm completely out of ideas. When I try to create, I feel empty. I have nothing left to give to my work. Oh no. What's happened? Did something change? There was a machine that kept me going and it stopped. I'm trying to find this engine that used to protect me, to start it again. Wait, you're looking for a machine? I think I know where it is. It isn't far. What? You have to take me to it. I need to see it to know why it stopped.
If
I
the
can take it to
last
it,
game
but there's a
featured
problem.
Coda talking explicitly about his creative frustrations, this one turns it up to 11. Now, put yourself in my shoes playing this. Here's a friend whose work is exhibiting signs of struggle, frustration, anxiety, depression, even. And yet, still, he keeps making games. He keeps throwing himself into the grinder even when he clearly doesn't have the energy for it anymore. Why? What is it for? Because
Come along, I'll show it
from
to
my
you.
perspective at the time and just what I knew of him, this was a result of how isolated he was. He was in his own little bubble, just sitting at his computer all day, not really showing these games to anyone, not releasing them onto the internet, and so he didn't have anyone outside of himself to connect with. He had no outlet to ground himself on. You can't talk yourself out of loneliness. It doesn't work that way. You can't be the one writing both the questions and the answers. Then there's no movement. Then there's no circulation. If all of your anxieties are being channeled into your work, then if the work ever fails, you have no backup and you're just going to crash.
You have to say that your work is fun and easy. You have to say that game development is simple and joyous, and that you love it 100% of the time. It's effortless. That feels wonderful. But it wasn't true. Don't worry about it. Just keep talking. Keep saying that creation is easy. It is easy. It never stops being easy. Yes, that's wonderful. Keep going.
Seeing this game at the time that he made it, it looked really unhealthy to me. I was watching him do this to himself, and I hated it. I hated seeing him so trapped. It's like video games are not worth this amount of suffering. This is someone I really cared about, and I used to get so much joy out of seeing him create. For him to suddenly become angry and frustrated like this, it was the worst thing for me. I don't know. This is what I felt at the time. I don't know how else to explain it. I wanted it to stop more than anything. It never felt so rotten. I needed more than I had ever needed anything for this to stop. But it didn't stop. After finishing this one, Coda takes another 7 months and comes up with a new game.
The machine. Ma'am, glad to see you arrived safely. We've captured the machine. It's waiting for you now. You can begin the interrogation whenever you like. I intend to be brutal. Very good. Just be warned that someone called the press, so we might have a bit of attention on this one. Also, one more thing that you should know about the machine. It calls itself Coda. How did you capture the machine? Will it be punished? What is in the machine? We got a minute? We'll get to see the machine? What can you do? Where's the machine now?
And of course, it's the machine.
You stopped. You stopped feeding us. Your work was keeping us alive. Your work was keeping us healthy. Those people out there, can you imagine what pain you put them through? It was only because of your creations that any of us could make it through every day. How could we possibly go back to trusting you to do this job? So here's what needs to happen. You need to go to the people who are out there and apologize to them. You have to admit to the people that you allowed them to suffer. No? Nothing? Think carefully. I know how to hurt you. I've seen the thing you fear. All right then. Now I'll speak to them for you. My followers, my friends. It falls on me to deliver bad news. The machine will not apologize to us. The machine refuses to admit that it deliberately hurt us. But this is not important. We are stronger than it thinks we are. We will find a way to live without it. We do not need its games. Let us show it that we are not failures. Follow me. We will destroy the machine. What's the game? The Unfinished Swan? Where you're throwing paint? It's kind of the inverse of that, I guess. The world is like just
So
stark
now
white.
the work is becoming self-destructive.
And you're throwing paint to
And
define
I'll
it.
tell you, at the time that I first played this game, shortly after he made it, here's what I'm thinking to myself. I'm thinking that code is stuck in his own head, and that it's having a very negative effect on him, and that all he needs to do is just start showing his work to people, to get some actual feedback on his games. It might get him out of isolation. And so, as I'm thinking this, I realize that I could be the one to initiate it. Because it would never occur to Coda to start actively soliciting feedback, so what if I did it for him? If he could see the difference it would make to have more actual conversations with other human beings, would that bring him out of his mental spiral? Would it give him confidence in himself? Would it bring meaning back into his work? So I started showing Coda's work to people. I took this one, and the islands which you just played, the theater, the notes, the house cleaning game, and some of the prison escape games. I brought them to people that I knew and trusted. I asked their opinions. And the great part is that they really loved his games. You know, the point of it all was just to give him some external reference point, but they genuinely loved his work. There was nothing for him to be afraid of. Bullseye.
Put down your weapon.
Can you see why I felt like this was the right thing to do? Because it's the thing that I always feel like I need, to be told that my work is good, that I am good. When someone really connects with a thing that I've made, when they see themselves purely in my work, there's nothing that feels better. And I got to give that very same feeling to my friend. I did something... I really felt like I'd done something good, like I was a good person. I felt like there was a friend who was in trouble and was unhappy and maybe didn't like themselves, and I could fix it. If I could give him this gift, maybe I could fix the problem. When they told me how much they enjoyed his games, it was the best feeling. It was the absolute best feeling. It made me feel so happy. So beautifully, beautifully happy. So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
The Tower.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game. This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the levels, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
It's fine, I've done this before. Metal Gear 2. Yeah. Looking for the secret pathway in the muck of the swamp. I do want to see the walls of the maze, though. I was hoping it would show me that.
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable. Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate. What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
I mean, basically, after playing the Stanley Parable, right? Functions the same way. It just keeps looping. You just can play it forever. Again and again. It's kind of the point.
The only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on. The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges, and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, you know, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that. Was I a failure for not understanding this game? I mean, I don't know why I would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why. I remember, it's June of 2011, I'm playing this for the very first time, and as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is. It wasn't the guy I knew, it wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though, that was the thing. For years I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't. I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed. did I screw up?
Dear Davey, thank you for your interest in my games. I need to ask you not to speak to me anymore.
You stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... it felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
I wonder at times whether you think I'm making these games for you. You've so infected my personal space that it's possible.
The people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
It's possible I did begin to plant solutions in my work somewhere, hidden between games. If there was an answer, a meaning, would it make you any happier? Would you stop taking my games and showing them to people against my wishes? Giving them something that is not yours to give? Violating the one boundary that keeps me safe? Would you stop changing my games? Stop adding lamp posts to them?
And then you stopped. And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
Would you simply let them be what they are? When I'm around you, I feel physically ill. You desperately need something, and I cannot give it to you. I literally do not have it. Struggling to come up with new ideas is not making me depressed. Low points are just a part of the process. The fact that you think I am frustrated or broken says more about you than about me. I realize that this doesn't make sense to you just yet, which is fine. You're not my problem to solve. But I do hope that one day it clicks and that you make peace with this thing you are wrestling.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
And when you finally see what I am talking about, don't say anything.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in. I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay. love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more, more, more. It's like a disease.
I don't know why I insist on always going everywhere but the one place I know it's most likely to be. Just can't help it. Wherever you want me to go, I gotta go somewhere else. Gotta wander around the station as much as possible.
I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe he just likes making prisons.
The last few minutes is really, like, it's been some good writing, kind of like exploring that relationship between, you know, the creator and those who enjoy the creator's work. And sort of parasocial relationship there. And what people seek to get out of it, how they can just start demanding things more and more. But now, like, right, the tendency for so many of us to just, like, read into someone's body of work and make vast assumptions about who they are and what they were going through in their life and why they made certain choices, doing a lot of like armchair psychology, right? And thinking we know because we can like piece together little bits of information, what we gathered about their history, their background. Maybe they just like
the disease
making
is
prisons.
telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you. If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
Yeah, and I really like, you know, thinking about looking at it from the perspective of the audience for the games or whatever the piece of art is, but then from the creator perspective, right? Like seeking validation through your work, but specifically through people responding to your work, you know? It's parasocial in both directions, you know?
What now? think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
to know. A little bit more about this. The game is narrated by Reedon and takes the user through a number of incomplete and abstract game creations made by a developer named Coda. Reedon challenges the player to try to come to understand the type of person Coda is from exploring these spaces in a first-person perspective. Reedon has stated that the game is open to interpretation. Some have seen the game as general commentary on the nature of the relationship between game developers and players, while others have taken it as an allegory to Reedon's own personal struggles with success resulting from the Stanley Parable. The game received polarized reviews. Many reviewers readily took to the narrative and the questions and ideas it raised on game development, while others felt the game forced some of Reedon's thoughts too hard and in a pretentious manner. One common interpretation is that the game is a metaphor for Reedon's own success and attempts to move past his struggles, with Coda being a fictional developer created for the game. That's what I was assuming by the end. Destructoid writer Darren Nakamura points out that for Reedon to publish a game at cost that is claimed to be the work of someone else, released without their permission, would be illegal, and thus providing evidence that Coda must be part of the game's fiction. That's a very good point. Emmanuel Mayberg of Motherboard theorizes that Coda is in fact Reedon himself, with Coda representing Reedon's own psyche up to and including the release of the Stanley Parable. Among other hints in the game, Mayberg explains that the name Coda can be taken as its definition, meaning a concluding part of a literary or dramatic work, and the theme of closing one door and moving on repeats frequently in the game. Right, more, using the press and other things, talk about like the Stanley Parable's success. But I'm curious, because by the end I was thinking like, right, that kind of makes it obvious, but I was wondering like how much of this was fictionalized? Like, is there a story in here that was true, where he did have this relationship with another dev, maybe even do some of these things he's talking about, and then like has created a fictional world based upon a real life experience? I was wondering how much truth is maybe in this story and in these worlds. And is this based on, or is it some of it just like his own creations for when he was learning game design? Because it lines up, right? Like building up to the release of the Stanley Parable, I guess. You could see like, based on the timeline, working in Source Engine, making a bunch of small little creations. And you can see a lot of like thematic links between the stuff we just went through with some of the more like absurdist, abstract, kind of surreal stuff in the Stanley Parable. And definitely the themes of like player agency and relationship, like meta-narrative, using games as a vehicle to talk about the process of making games and playing games, thinking about games. But I really like that last bit, that last area, talking about like the relationship between the creator, but then really just like me thinking, me along for the ride through all that, like, oh yeah, that's a good interpretation. Maybe that is what that means. Like reading into like, what do the prisons represent? What does the lamppost represent? Like, but what do you know? Like you have your own personal experience and like thus assumptions built out of that, imbued with like a little bit of what you think you know about this developer. But you never really know. And you can do all the research in the world, but you haven't lived their life, and you don't know where stuff's coming from. You just assume so much of it. I think it did a good job about exploring that idea. And great music and atmosphere with some of these cool environments along the way. I really enjoyed that. But I can see why people would not. I can see the argument for being a little pretentious, like especially if like the framing device in this fictional dev is just a way for you to narrate and comment on your own game creations. And like I know it's in the service of this larger exploration. Using it as a way to talk about these themes. It's not about that. It's not about the minutia. But that is part of it, and I could see being critical of that and maybe being turned off by that. But I think that's a very cool follow-up to the Stanley Parable, right? Like a more like subdued, slow-paced, meditative, but still like thematically linked to the previous game. And brings in like some, yeah, I guess like follow-up, fallout of it, like the fame, the notoriety of releasing a very successful game and all the things that might come with it very suddenly, probably. But I really enjoyed going through both of these today. Horseman, if you're watching after the fact, I know you're in Dreamland. Thank you again for recommending the Stanley Parable, because I really enjoyed getting both of these games and going through them. What a great experience. I think I'm going to leave it there for today. It's a good moment to end on, and it's been about 6 hours. 2 games is enough for me. So thank you everybody who came today. It's great having you. I hope you enjoyed going through these games as well. I think I'm off tomorrow. I won't be here, but I think maybe Monday, so the day after tomorrow, I'll be back for... Are we starting Little Nightmares? For your beginner? For your Stanley. For your Stanley. So, Bodhi, thank you for hanging out this whole time. Hope you have a great rest of your night. Yeah, so I'll drop in the Discord the schedule for the days ahead, but almost certainly no stream tomorrow. But probably Monday. Maybe get right on Little Nightmares, although I do want to finish Astrobot. So I'll fit that in here too. But yeah, I'll drop the schedule there. But until then, y'all be well. Take care. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.